What's up, YouTube? On this episode of Coddiwomple Overland, we're going to be visiting the Nantahala and Chattahoochee National Forests. On this trip, Deb and I set out with Alan and Nancy. Our plan was to make our way back down to Asheville, North Carolina, and get back on the Smokey Mountain 1000. We made it to Asheville right at rush hour traffic, but luckily we made it through pretty quick. Just south of Asheville, we got onto the Blue Ridge Parkway. Our plan was not to travel very far tonight on the Parkway and find us a place to camp along a Forest Service road. And this is where the true adventure began. We had run into our first closed gate. It was time to find a different place to camp. This was only the beginning to a long, long evening. Most of our travels along the Blue Ridge Parkway are often covered with clouds or fog. This time was completely different. The views were absolutely amazing. The Forest Service roads in this area that weren't gated had these signs: no roadside camping. It cited public safety and health as the reason why. We continued on down the parkway, hoping we would get lucky and they would have forgotten to post one of the roads.
Finally, one that's open.
And it says rough road, which is what we like. Fudge. We weren't having any luck as the Forest Service done a pretty good job at posting. We continued on, checking every offshoot that we could find.
Well, because I don't tell her.
This particular road did have a few campsites, but all of them were full. We continued to travel on and search for a campsite into the night. After not finding anything in that area, it was back on the Blacktop. We were all starting to get hungry. Desperate times call for desperate measures. It's time for dinner in the parking lot of a gas station. After watching the local police SWAT team a guy and then having a nice warm dinner, it was back on the road to find a camp. But this time we'd traveled all the way through North Carolina and found ourselves in South Carolina. Just over the South Carolina border, we found a Forest Service road that wasn't marked. It also hadn't been used for a very long time. It showed on the map that it was going to be a dead end. We were hoping there was a place wide enough at the bottom where we could at least set up camp for the night.
We know how to pick them, don't we?
The further down we went, the more dismal it looked. We finally found a wide spot, decided to call this home for the night. After we got camp set up, we had some hot chocolate, sat around a minute to unwind, and then it was time for bed. The next morning was sunny, crisp, and cool. The sunlight going out was definitely going to show us what kind of mess we got into trying to get down in here the night before. What are we making?
We are making apple, I don't know, apple pie? Apple pizza
Okay, for breakfast.
for breakfast.
Awesome. After a delicious, warm, and sticky breakfast, it was time to get back on the trail.
Is that going to go over our...
Could be hard on our chip.
Here, pull up. One more. Go ahead. One more.
We made our way back up out of this trail without very many issues at all.
I didn't realize we came back in here this far.
We weren't on Blacktop long at all before we found ourselves back on gravel Forest Service roads. If we had drove a little bit farther the night before, we would have found some really cool campsites. But when it starts getting late at night, sometimes you just take what you can find. This was one of the campsites that we found less than an hour from where we'd stayed the night before. It was obvious that it gets a lot of use. It was well off the road and right beside a really cool stream. The name of the stream just happened to be Reed Creek, and it was full of mica schist. The whole stream glittered. All the amenities at home. After checking out the campsite, we had to climb our way back up onto the road. This is crazy. We're in two-wheel drive.
Yeah. I mean, the mechanics of everything works together very well, doesn't it?
Yep. The thing I like about that Aussie locker, I don't have to worry about flipping a switch
Yeah.
or making sure
Yeah.
that our compressor's on or
Yeah.
nothing. It's there when I need it, and it's unlocked when we don't.
Yeah. Good this way.
There are several places along this route to stop and check out the creek and the glittering sand and other sights of nature. By this time we had made it to Georgia following Forest Service roads through the mountains.
In the night.
40s tonight. I think last night was our coldest night.
It's the only wildlife we've seen on the whole trip so far. Little grasshopper.
After a few hours of exploring, everybody was getting hungry again. A couple pieces of homemade pizza. With our bellies full, we were back at it again.
Yeah.
The things we see on these trips never cease to amaze me. Yep, that's a mannequin with a BB gun. And another fun fact, Georgia has a tubing park complete with man-made snow. The shadows were starting to get longer and the sun was dropping further in the sky. We knew it was time to start looking for a campsite. We didn't want to be sitting up in the dark like we did the night before. We found this one. It was nice, but thought it may be a little too high in elevation and just a little bit too exposed. We decided to try to find another one. We found another Forest Service dead-end road, but it was looking a lot like the night before. We wanted a better campsite for this night. We need to find this campsite right along that creek right there.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I love campsites. Oh, did you find something by the creek?
Maybe.
That was a good sight down over the hill, Bill. Get to it.
Trying to figure out how to get there.
That's what he's looking at now.
I just told her, don't challenge him.
Yeah. That looks like it right there. But there's also a little Forest Service road right down here about 500 feet. So we'll look at that and then we'll come back to this.
Was there something that dropped off the edge?
Yeah, there's a road that went back down in there.
I should go down that road that you looked at, right, Bill?
Yep. We were looking for another epic campsite by a creek. We found it. After camp was set up tonight, Alan and Nancy took over cooking duty.
That's really good. I'll try it.
No thanks. Now I like to eat, but I'm not a fan of salmon and blue cheese dressing.
Very good, Nancy. Yeah, it's really good.
I didn't go hungry. I found something else to eat. So we thought we were going to have a real nice camp night till the coon hunters showed up. After the coon hunters left, we enjoyed a nice quiet fire and each other's company. We hung around there for a little while until it was time for bed. We wanted to get a good night's sleep to be ready for the next day. We hope you've enjoyed going along this journey with us, the same that we enjoyed doing it. Leave us a comment below and let us know what you thought about the trip. Remember, like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you know when part 2 of this is uploaded. Thanks again for watching Coddiwomple Overland. Until next time, see ya.